Welcome back, America. We're here with, I call him America's governor, Ron DeSantis. Governor DeSantis, I look at these blue cities and blue states. First of all, they claim to be sanctuary, which they can't do under the Constitution. They couldn't do it during the Confederacy, the Democrats, and they're doing it again, trying to pretend that they're not part of the Republic, and yet they are. I hear these mayors and these governors egging on people in ways that stokes the flames, that helps them become violent and so forth and so on. And also we have these paid actors and these front organizations that, you know, they show up, they're rent-a-mobs and they show up too and so forth. I don't see a lot of that in your state. So what do? You work with ICE, you work with immigration, you coordinate, you let them know when the bad guys are getting out of jail, whereas the Democrats are working with the enemies of society, right?
Well, absolutely. We do all those things, Mark. We're safer as a result of it. And this immigration issue is very important. Public safety is very important. But I would argue it's even larger than that. This is a constitutional issue. We had an administration under Joe Biden that basically the president violated his oath to take care that the laws are faithfully executed with respect to immigration. He opened the border. Interior enforcement collapsed. President Trump ran in large part on securing the border and making sure immigration laws were enforced to be able to protect the public. So what we're doing by cooperating is we're helping not only to make sure illegal aliens are removed, our taxpayers are protected, but that the people's will in that election of 2024 is being carried out. What they're doing in the blue states is they lost the election and they want to nullify the faithful application of immigration law. And it goes much beyond just protesting or not liking it. They are actively encouraging people to take matters into their own hands, and they are putting the people who are serving in federal law enforcement at risk as a result. There's no way that if the shoe were on the other foot, red states would be able to get away with what these blue states are doing right now.
And it's clear what these blue states are doing, isn't it? It's political power, one-party rule. The more illegal immigrants that come into the country under the current process, and it's very unfortunate, it's very unconstitutional in my view, the more congressional seats they're going to get, the more electoral college votes they're going to get. So this really is about one-party rule, a power play. And isn't that why the Democrats all say the same thing, like a conga line? They dance the same tune, they sing the same tune, and it's always ICE is bad, defund ICE, Trump is a dictator, and all we want to do is protect the citizens when they're undermining the citizenry?
Well, exactly right. I mean, Mark, we've had, we just had a family that was killed by an illegal alien truck driver. You see these things happening all over the country, and the Democrats, they want to facilitate more of that. They don't want there to be the faithful application of the law. You know, if they really don't like having immigration laws, they can run on an open border platform. But guess what? They will lose if they do that. So instead, you have these laws on the books. You have the president that's enforcing the laws, and their view is that they should just be immune to it. That's why you have California is a sanctuary state. That's why you have all those sanctuary cities. We banned sanctuary cities my first year as governor, Mark. We're the only state in the country that requires local and state law enforcement to participate and help ICE with immigration enforcement. And it's worked very well in Florida. We have over almost 20,000 apprehensions of illegal aliens because of our state and local participation. That's in addition to things that DHS is doing on its own. As a result, taxpayers are saving money because you don't have as many services and you don't have as many crimes that are being committed, and the rule of law is being upheld.
When we come back, Governor, I would argue the president has been obviously aggressive in trying to enforce our laws, but he's also been restrained in many ways. The Insurrection Act has been used about 30 times by presidents of both parties. About 50% of the presidents have used the Insurrection Act, and they've used the Insurrection Act for a lot less than this. And yet they're attacking the President of the United States for sending in armies of ICE officers in order to enforce the law. He's sending in those officers to protect the other officers who are under attack.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.